Today we're talking Netflix, comedy, and a whole lot of penises, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you're hearing right now is the theme song to Netflix's Big Mouth, which is one of the shows we'll be reviewing today here on TV Pilot Reviews, which is a show where we look at Hollywood's hottest new pilots and let you know what we think, whether or not you should pass or play. Guys, my name is Jeff Graham. If you want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey C. Graham. I wasn't here last week, but my two amazing co-panelists held it down.
Hey guys, I'm Sam Davidson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SamD43.
And you guys can hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram at DeAnjilo TV for Twitter and at DeAnjilo for Instagram. I'll say that song is so soulful without seeing the vaginas and stuff flash by during the intro. I'm like, oh, I actually like this song.
I really like it too. I was wondering if it was Duke Ellington, because he's such a big part of the show.
Actually a good question.
Which is a minor spoiler, but not too much.
Yeah.
And before you guys start the show, I should let you know this is going to be a very R-rated show. If you couldn't tell off the top, we've already said both penis and vagina. It's very bodily, this show, which, that's not necessarily inappropriate, right?
No, not necessarily.
Men have penises, women have vaginas. We shouldn't be ashamed.
Just put your kids away.
Yeah, just put your kids away. Or that's the big conversation we'll have is the show Big Mouth, which we're talking about, is all about middle schoolers and the horrors of the puberty experience. But it's definitely not for middle schoolers.
No, it's like Doug on horny steroids a little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and start talking about the show. Our goal today, guys, is to actually cover two pilots. They're both comedies, so there's not too much to talk about. They're both on Netflix. The first show we're talking about is called Big Mouth, which just came out last Friday. But we're also be talking about American Vandal, starring the famous-ish Jimmy Tatro, which aired about a month ago. But the shows actually share kind of a lot of similarities, and I think their approach to comedy and especially with penises. So we'll talk about both. But let's go ahead and get started by talking first about Big Mouth. Before we do that, how are you guys?
Good.
Terrible.
It's just good to see you guys.
Yeah,
Great
it's
to
been
see
a couple
you
weeks.
Okay, so let's talk about the show. Big Mouth is a new show on Netflix. It aired on Friday. That would have been,
Mm-hmm.
October 1st? I should know.
Nope.
the
That
exact
was
date.
September 29th.
September 29th.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Or 30th.
Yeah, or you can
One
let us
of
know in the
those
comments.
two.
When did Big Mouth
I know my
premiere?
birthday was the 2nd, which was on Monday, so that meant it was on the 29th or 30th. Yeah.
The first question I'll ask before we dive in, because we're talking about Netflix shows, are you guys big Netflix fans?
Yes.
Yeah?
I love Netflix.
They produce good content, definitely.
I think they do too, and for me, both of these shows I think are pretty good. We'll talk about our specific opinions, but we'll go around. The first thing we do, just so you guys know, is we kind of give you our pass or play. We give you our overall reaction to the show, spoiler free, and then talk about the development, and then after that we do get into spoilers. So just so you know, we're going to start with spoiler free reviews, but we'll warn you before we get into the spoiler part. I'll start. I thought Big Mouth was really, really good. I will say I had very high expectations for this show. Nick Kroll and John Mulaney are two of my favorite comics of all time. I've actually seen both of them live, so I've been following the development of Big Mouth for a very long time.
Did you see their Broadway show?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I saw Oh Hello at Largo this summer before.
That's
that
awesome.
was a year and a half ago before it went to Broadway, which is kind of cool. It's also on Netflix, just so you guys know. But I really think the show's pretty good overall. I will say we're supposed to only watch the pilot, but I ended up watching ahead a bit. I think it's incredibly inappropriate, and I think it's definitely not going to be a show for everyone. So for those listening, we'll kind of talk about who might like this show and who might not. But for me, I think they've really found their tone, and they're really going for it, and they are not holding back, which I think is important in the execution of the comedy of this show. So I really like the show. For me, it's a definite play. How about you guys?
It's a play for me, too. I'm a big fan of Nick Kroll specifically, but also John Mulaney. But I can always tell when it's Nick's voice. I don't know. I think I might have a crush on him or something. I thought it was really funny. I'm not a big fan of animated stuff in general, but it doesn't keep my attention, which is funny because it's supposed to be made for children. But this caught my attention, and I thought some of the jokes were so funny and just very, crisp. They were very, you could tell they worked really hard on writing some of these jokes, and even some of the throwaway jokes.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that about it.
Play for me as well. It's like that Family Guy raunchy type humor, which I love personally. I love it when I experience it in the beginning, because Family Guy I'm kind of over, but it was just in a refreshing way from an interesting perspective, and I like definitely laughed out loud funny.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to, like, I want to contrast it to, even though it's gonna be a little difficult, to The Mayor, and like how some of the jokes that they did in this show, like, which could be offensive, but how it like came across in a different way.
Yeah.
That made me okay with it. That like I think they accomplished very well.
Well, and I just want to add this too. As a female, you would think that this would generally be a very male show as far as the audience is concerned, but I don't know. When I was younger, I would always ask the questions that they semi-answered. I don't know if that's what really happens to young boys, but I've always been like, what? Like, do they just get boners in class? Like, are they just going to the bathroom and jizzing in the toilet? I swear, I think I had those actual questions.
Well, and I don't want to give away too much, but if you keep watching the show, the women definitely get their turn.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Next.
Which
Yeah,
I really,
love that.
really appreciate.
Me
I
too.
mean, we'll talk about the creators in just a minute, but it's mostly men who created the show. There is a woman on the 4-person creating team, and the writers' room has women. And I think for the most part, it's kind of a nuanced, complicated portrayal of both teenage boys and teenage girls.
Puberty.
For puberty, so for those who don't know, this doesn't give too much away, but the show really is an unfiltered look at the horrors of what it's like to really go through puberty. A lot of shows will kind of touch on this, like Degrassi or, but they don't really talk about, like, the nitty gritty
Actual changes
of like your actual body.
Yeah.
And this show is so cringy.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But for those of you guys who don't like cringy, uncomfortable humor, don't watch this show.
I didn't think it was that cringy.
Really?
I don't know. I just thought it was like a little bit just honest. It was raunchy,
Yes.
for sure. But
The cringe factor wasn't so much discomfort with the humor. It was just a discomfort with how spot on the horrors of being a teenager are.
yeah, it was mostly about male puberty. So I guess I didn't feel cringe.
Just wait
Just
till,
wait till the next episode.
Wait till the next one.
Yeah, I haven't
it
seen it
flips
yet.
back and forth.
Oh God. Okay.
Tell me if you agree, DeAnjilo, but the cringiness was more just like the worst nightmares of what it's like to be 12, 13, 14 years old. The things that you kind of post-traumatic stress disorder get rid of in your mind.
Yeah.
This show like puts on stage.
I mean, it was spot on. I didn't cringe. It was raunchy. I was just like, it was like, oh yeah. Like you kind of have those moments of like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly how I felt, or things like that. And I think it was, it was very relatable. It's funny though, just it being a show for about middle schoolers, but it's very plainly, or feels like very plainly for adults. So
For
it's like
sure.
reminiscing almost.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to talk about that because it is an interesting approach to take given the subject matter.
Yeah.
I think for me, middle school is just kind of a rough time. I don't know if you guys can tell or you're surprised, but middle school Jeff was kind of weird.
Dude, that was the worst time of my
Middle school
life.
sucks,
Yeah.
man.
The
Middle school
freaking
sucks.
worst.
Well, there's a specific moment. This is, I wouldn't say too spoilery, but we're kind of starting to move in there. But there's a specific moment when Nick Kroll's character is like, "This is so embarrassing," and John Mulaney goes, "Everything is so embarrassing," and it's that kind of just sort of touched on the sweetness of the show. I think we'll get into it, but it's like very uncomfortable and very vulgar. But I think it's also a really sweet show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got a very big heart, I think. So let's talk about the development of the show. This is an original show, and there's actually 4 creators, which I think is rare that TV has that many.
Yeah.
Typically it's 1 or 2. But the creators of this show are, of course, Nick Kroll, very famous comic, had a great Comedy Central show called Kroll Show. I don't know if you guys watched that. Also, Andrew Goldberg, who...
Yes. Bring up. I'm trying. I know that he's done so much.
I had a minute of Evan Goldberg, who writes with Seth Rogen.
Well, he does a lot of the sci-fi. Or no. Sorry, he's the comedy writer with Seth Rogen. Yeah.
There's a lot of Goldbergs in Hollywood.
Yeah, us Jews guys, and
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
Absolutely.
We love to just climb up that ladder.
But Andrew Goldberg actually doesn't have a ton of credits, but he was a Family Guy writer. So I think, Dee, you mentioned some of the Family Guy influences. I think that's probably his contributions. And this is interesting. The last 2 writers are a writing team, a married couple named Mark Levin and Jennifer Flackett, whose writing credits include 2 movies, Madeline and Wimbledon.
All right.
Wow.
Not what I expected, but hey, good for them.
Versatile, I guess.
I kind of wondered if maybe they were the story people. Like you've got to include stakes and narrative. And
Yeah.
They must know story. if
That's
they've written a couple.
really random, though. It's not like they were working in animation.
No?
Yeah. That's relationship building, just like kind of.
Yeah.
Who knows? They might may
Friends.
have always had that passion. Who knows?
Yeah, they've always wanted to write about penis.
Yeah, obviously.
I always love to know those stories though, because it is very random.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this cast. The two lead kind of young middle school guys are Nick Birch and Andrew Glauberman, played by respectfully Nick Kroll and John Mulaney. That's the term, right? When you say respectfully, you go in the order of the thing you just said.
I support you. I do.
Thank you. And then we also have the kind of lead female character played by Jessie Klein, who I don't know that well, but is great on the show, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Jason Mantzoukas, who I love, playing kind of the bro named Jay.
I love The League.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite shows.
I
of
love The
all
League
time.
too. My favorite performance on this show is Jenny Slate, who's playing the nerdy girl Missy.
Yeah.
Oh, is that your favorite? I want to know your favorite too. I have my favorite.
And then, of course, my favorite part of the show. Oh, and just so you guys know, we're getting into spoiler territory, but there are two kind of villains in this show, and they're the male and female hormone monsters.
Yes, my favorite.
So funny. So for those of you guys who are wondering, basically all of the awful things that we do during puberty are egged on by sort of the embodiment of puberty itself that they call the hormone monster. Those are respectively played by Fred Armisen and Maya Rudolph. And finally we have the ghost of Duke Ellington, played by Jordan
Oh my
Peele.
goodness.
Was
Yeah.
this some of the mayor stuff you wanted to talk about, Dee? Was sort of the way they were...
Yeah,
okay.
my brain got there. Yeah.
I would love to kind of hear your take on, like, first of all, I mean, Jordan Peele, I love.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's one of the preeminent African-American voices in entertainment right now. I mean, Get Out was my favorite movie.
And just
this
one of the
year.
biggest voices in entertainment in general. He's
general.
freaking taken over.
So I'd love to hear kind of specifically you, Dee, if I could ask, like, what your whole take on this Duke Ellington thing kind of is.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, the show set the precedence that everyone is gonna get offended one way or another in
Yeah.
the show. But it's like it's kind of for a purpose loosely, and like it kind of goes under that Family Guy umbrella of just like we're doing this. Sometimes we're doing it to make a point. Sometimes we're doing it to make you laugh. And so I think the reason that in this case, with their portrayal of Duke Ellington, I wasn't offended is because of the style of humor. One, it actually made me laugh, as opposed to the mayor. But then also the show's voice, it's kind of in that umbrella of like, this is what's going to happen. Like, you're going to be offended in the show. Like, we're going to make you laugh. The mayor, with comparison, I don't know if they were trying to offend. I don't know what the goal was. Necessarily.
We sort of
or the
talked
vision.
about
the
how-
lack of vision. You know what I mean? So when you're coming in a show, if I watch Family Guy and I'm like, I'm gonna message Seth MacFarlane and be like, I'm offended that you said this. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, this is Family Guy. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And so I think the vision of the show being so clearly made it like okay, and it gives them a lot more permission
Yeah,
to take
and
their liberties.
every person goes through puberty.
Right.
We've all been through those awkward middle school years, even if we were the cool kid.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I wasn't. I know Jeff wasn't, as he's... I don't know about you, DeAnjilo.
Shockingly.
But I mean, I think every person can relate in some way. And even those fantasy, sequences, it's funny. And it's very, very well written.
It's very well written. Let's go ahead and talk about this writing. To me, the thing I love about this show is it really does not hold back.
Not
I
at all.
think and I think Netflix is doing a good job of this. And if we're going to compare this to The Mayor, which was the first comedy we reviewed, we talked about how the show didn't really seem to pick a lane. Like, we don't know if it was making big enough choices to really distinguish itself. And this show is certainly making big choices. I think it's a very, very deliberately raunchy, broad spectrum of humor. And I think nothing is off limits in the show.
Well, I think it's an interesting point just in general, if you're working at a network versus working at Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, there are certain restrictions put on you. And sometimes I feel bad for the networks at this point because they have so many restrictions put on them and Netflix does not. So I think, of course, they make better content.
Yeah, because they don't have to adhere to like FCC regulations and absolutely. So let's go ahead and we've talked about like the hormone monsters. We've talked about Jordan Peele. What do you guys think of Nick Kroll and John Mulaney playing Nick Birch and Andrew Glauberman? How do you guys feel about their performances?
I love it. It's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, because I'm cheating because I went ahead a little bit,
Yeah.
but just to see how they tackle certain issues at that age, I think it was very clever. I enjoyed it. I'm trying to not spoil it.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think like all of the performers really are doing a great job. I think they've done a great job with casting. It's interesting. You mentioned Nick Kroll's voice. One minor problem I have with the show, and I think this is even in the pilot, is Nick Kroll is voicing like 4 characters on the show.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's doing the Seth MacFarlane thing where they all sound unique.
There was a part of me where I was like, he's trying to be Seth MacFarlane.
Yep.
And, it's like, that's Nick Kroll. I love that dude. So I loved all of his characters, but I'm a sucker. I am a huge fan of his, but I totally understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love Nick Kroll too, but it's just tough for me because, like, even his character in the gym teacher, he's in the pilot, right? This is bad because I watched ahead a bit.
Yeah, the gym teacher was in the pilot. Yeah.
So he's voiced by Nick Kroll, and I just really have trouble. There's also one of the female kind of popular girls is voiced by Nick Kroll.
Yeah, that one.
And to me, he's not doing quite the job he needs to as a voice actor to really make each of those 3 characters stand out.
Interesting. I mean, me not being as familiar with him, I don't think I had a moment where I was like, oh, I think that sounds like another character. So maybe because of you guys' familiarity with his work and his voice, that gives you that insight.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, on Kroll's show, which is his Comedy Central show that was short-lived but really, really wonderful, he played a lot of characters, and maybe having the visual accompaniment of wardrobe and costume helped get me out of that.
Yeah.
But that would be like my only minor kind of note about the voice performances that I sort of have trouble with. But I think for the most part, I'm really, really loving these performances. I'm especially loving Jenny Slate as Missy, the nerdy girl. I think she's kind of my Nick Kroll, same where I've just been a huge Jenny Slate fan for a long time. So
we have crushes.
I'm trying to remember if this scene happened where the parents of
Fred Armisen.
Yeah, and they talked about oppression or something like that right before they made love. And I loved how absurd that scene was. It kind of that was one of those examples of humor kind of making a point.
Yes.
That I really enjoyed.
I think there's a lot of generational comedy in this show, which South Park does this too. And I think this show does owe a lot to South Park.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys are South Park fans, but sort of where there's a sense of almost the kids being the voices of reason and the parents being the wacky ones.
Yeah.
I think like that's a little bit of this show.
And also the fact that this is an adult show run by children, essentially. I mean, as far as the main characters are concerned, the parents are secondary.
Yeah, agreed. So it sounds like we're liking the characters overall. We're liking the writing. I think to me, we always kind of talk about like the themes of these shows. I think to me, the reason the show is such a win is because it's so thematically focused.
Yeah.
I think if this show were to just be about what it's like to be in middle school, it wouldn't be working because the comedy wouldn't really be purpose-driven.
Yeah.
But I think because the show is like specifically about changing bodies, it's really working.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with me?
It's very focused. I mean, just from the... I remember the hard cut of his penis that we saw, and I was like, okay, so this is what I need to be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
It was very quick in setting a precedence and having a vision.
There was
very good.
one part where I rewound it because I was laughing so hard, and I was like, what? It was when the penises were dancing and I think singing,
Oh my
and then
God,
one of them had to try to sing too, and it wouldn't come out because he was uncircumcised, so he had to pull the skin down.
Wait, I don't even remember that. Whoa.
Yeah, no, I was like, wait, what? Is that what I thought it was?
That's absurd.
And it's absurd, but as far as the animation is concerned, I mean, how creative and specific.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's what I mean is this show is weird, first of all, and it doesn't hold back. And I really think, I mean, like, the more you watch the show, the more you realize, like, it really is about the essence of the puberty experience. I mean, like, each episode kind of tackles another. In the same way that South Park kind of tackles current social issues, Big Mouth is very focused on what it's like to have your body go crazy on you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, I think, the element of sweetness about this show that I really like is despite all of the horrific things that are happening to these teenagers, they're kind of relying on each other's friendships to get through it,
Yeah.
which I think is really kind of nice.
Yeah, that's the cute factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, this is, well, you know what? I'm starting. There was a point when I was a young girl, my best friend, still my best friend to this day, I was like, why are you growing hair and I'm not growing hair? And I feel so weird. We were listening to the Spice Girls and I was like, what is happening? And I was jealous. She was like, don't be jealous. And
It happens.
And like I completely related
Yeah.
to their friendship. Like even as a girl, I mean, we all go through it, guys.
We all go through it. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's been one of the interesting conversations around this show. We've kind of been dancing around it, but the show is featuring and is about middle schoolers, but it's very much a show for adults.
Right.
Do you guys think the show has like an audience problem?
Not at all.
Nope.
No?
Because I don't think it was broadcast to middle schoolers.
Yeah.
I think it was very clear who they were going for.
because we're all enjoying it. I mean, even
Yeah.
if you're 80 years old, you could
gonna
look
enjoy
back and be like, oh, those days.
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting is there's 10% of me that thinks like it would be good for kids to see this in a sense.
I would probably show it to my children, but, you know.
See, that's where I was thinking is I was
Like
like,
high schoolers, not middle schoolers.
because I feel
Well,
like there's
maybe.
something kind of educational, like there is kind of a sense of safety of like, we know how hard it is, but like it would never be appropriate
Yeah.
for
No.
I mean, they probably were watching it anyway, but
yeah. One of the interesting conversations sort of related to this is that it's getting a lot of backlash because people are saying it's completely inappropriate to show children's bodies in this sense. I mean, DeAnjilo mentioned we see like
The hard cut
a
of the
cartoon
yeah.
penis
Yeah.
of probably, what, a 13 or 14-year-old boy. Everyone's like, this is child pornography. What do you guys think about that conversation?
I don't think so.
Right.
I kind of get where that middle of America or something theme is coming from, but this is not on network television. This is something you have to subscribe to, which
Right.
is
Check it
Netflix
out,
and
yeah.
pay for, and your children, you know. I don't know. I don't think so at all. I found it funny.
Right.
I think
it was.
penises
I mean,
are funny.
it was disturbing, but it was supposed to be, and it was funny. I mean, it was like a bust out. Like, it wasn't even like a I just saw a little kid's penis. It's an animated show. You get
Right.
liberties with
I
an
told you,
animated
I
show.
laughed my ass off when the uncircumcised little
Yeah.
thing ran. It was like, bloop.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like the show is anything but sexual. You know what I mean? Like it's anything but erotic. You know what I mean?
Yes,
even
that's a good
though
word, yeah,
even
sexual
though-
but not erotic.
Yeah, even though it's very focused on, you know, the sexual coming of age that every teenager goes through.
Yeah.
There's nothing erotic about the show. It's very uncomfortable. It's very awkward, and I kind of get grossed out by people who are claiming it's pornographic because I'm like, what are you reading about this show?
Yeah.
I feel like it's saying something more about the people who have a problem with it than it is about the actual show.
Well, my question is, just because something is animated, does that mean it's for children?
Not
definitely
anymore.
not,
I mean,
no.
like ever since The Simpsons, that's out the
Yeah,
window.
that changed.
You know.
So then get over it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So let us know what you think. I mean, like that's the opinion of this panel. But for those
Yeah.
listening, if you disagree with us, we've definitely had some detractors on our coverage of The Mayor. Let us know, especially if you watched the pilot. Do you think the show goes too far? Do you think the show goes far enough? Do you think the show has an audience problem? And do you think the show is pornographic? I mean, these are interesting conversations, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is the moment of the show where we rate out of 5 what we think.
Oh, 1 to 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
DeAnjilo, you've been doing this show for 3 weeks.
I thought we were getting 1 to 10.
No, I'm teasing. I'm just totally.
I forgot.
You're totally fine.
Okay. You guys go first. I need to think.
I'm
you
giving
go,
this
Jeff.
thing a 4.5. I really liked it, and I think it knows exactly what it is.
I'm giving it a 4.5 as well.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be different, but it's still like it's not a 5, but I might go a little higher, like 4.7.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's very good. It's very, very good.
Cool. So we like the show, you guys.
Yeah, we like it.
And we don't like every show. Check out our review of The Mayor if you
Yeah.
don't believe me.
God, I feel bad now for the mayor.
I don't. Do better. Do better.
It's you. We're tuning in because we have opinions, and we want you guys to have opinions too, and let us know what you think. Here's the thing. Something I was talking about with my roommate. We've been watching this show together. Do you think the show has runway? Because it is very specifically about a very specific time in your life. Do you think a season 2, pardon me, is doable? What do they tackle? You know?
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of animated too. Like, and they can be in middle school forever.
Yeah,
They don't
You're right.
have to age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
I just wonder how many like puberty stories there are to
They
tell.
can go through. Yeah.
But I guess South Park's made it last for 17 seasons.
Yeah.
True
so.
that.
I was kind of thinking it'd be fun to see different stages of life, you know? Like what it's like to, you know, your freshman year of high school. And
Yeah. I just think the overall theme of this, I love it, is that it's awkward puberty,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that is what makes it so funny to
Yeah.
me, at least.
that is why the show is special, I
Yeah.
think. I think you're right. Okay, cool. Well, any other last minute thoughts regarding Big Mouth?
I just want to frickin' talk about
You
American
can curse, I mean.
Vandal.
We warned everyone.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, let's get into it. So the next pilot. Oh, and let us know if you guys think we should cover this as an after show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you think.
absolutely.
So the next show, we're talking about another Netflix show that actually aired about a month ago. I bet some of you guys have seen it and some of you haven't, but this is a show called American Vandal. American Vandal is a mockumentary that is a very, very cutting parody of true crime. And sort of the true crime phenomenon of shows like The Nick, not The Nick,
Making
The
a Murderer,
Jinx,
Jinx.
Making a Murderer, Serial, you know, this whole phenomenon. And the show is about not a murder, but a vandalism crime where someone draws spray-painted penises on the cars of the entire school's faculty. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think of this show?
I remember when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is absurdly stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not watching this. I didn't think I would enjoy it. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it, but it is still absurd. I still say the same things about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said it's absurdly stupid. I'm watching this. I mean, when I first saw the trailer a few months ago, I thought that itself was like a joke and it was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And then when I realized it was an 8-part series on Netflix, I just about, lost it. I was so excited.
Are you a true crime fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a big true crime fan. I listen to so many podcasts and documentaries, and I love comedy. And I have brothers, and
Are you guys pass or play?
Play for sure.
I played all of it, so yeah.
I'm a play, but I'm not like a rousing play. Like, I'm going to watch the second one, but I don't know if I'm quite as far along in terms of my enjoyment of the show as you guys. Mm-hmm. I think it's funny, and I also agree that it's wonderfully dumb. The show is deliberately stupid, and it's borrowing from a lot of shows that I like. I think of, like, Hot American Summer.
Yeah.
I love the movie and the Netflix show. For fans of Christopher Guest, think Spinal Tap, think Best in Show. That's kind of the tone we're going for. But overall, I wasn't laughing quite as much as I was hoping I would be. There was a couple big laugh out loud moments for me. I think what's really making the show work is its commitment to trying to nail every single trope of a real true crime documentary. Mm-hmm. The music, the editing, the moments.
Bullet points.
Yeah, the bullet points, the narration, the diagrams. That stuff is really impressive to me. And I think that's the reason I'm a play, but maybe not quite as much as you guys.
So, okay, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but as you progress, you kind of you laugh at the fact that you're attached to this stupid mystery. But also, you notice the little things in the show, like the credits at the beginning are the characters.
Oh, yeah?
Of the documentary. It's like Peter Maldonado or what? Something like that. He, directed it, and they have the characters actually
as part of the
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm closer to you, Jeff. After watching it, I'm a little invested. Mm-hmm. But it was like compared to Big Mouth, where I was like, oh, I gotta catch another episode. It's not it was like, okay, well, maybe I'll revisit this, maybe I won't, maybe I can just hear someone tell me what happened and it'll be just enjoyable.
No,
yeah.
no.
That's where I am though.
No,
yeah.
It's just funny. It just I just think it gets funnier, and I don't know, that kind of humor to me, it makes me laugh a lot, and I just think the way that they did it, especially probably because I like true crime podcasts and documentaries and TV shows, and I love silly comedies, and that dude, what's his
Jimmy Tatro is the lead of the show.
He delivered.
Yeah, he's doing great. Let's go ahead and talk about
you guys, I literally am looking at his photo on the screen and I'm laughing.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about these performances.
Yeah.
I will say Jimmy Tatro is great in this role.
Yeah, he kills it.
Jimmy Tatro is famous-ish. Some people know who he is, some people don't. He was in the same fraternity as me, so that's like how I was familiar with him. Because he got famous on making fun of frat guys.
Yeah.
And he's playing that character. Obviously, if you have the voice and the look of this guy, it's hard for me to imagine getting cast as anything but dumb jock. Mm-hmm. But I think he's turning in a nice performance in this show.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I believe him.
We're kind of getting to spoiler territory now, guys, but basically he's playing the accused. Every single true crime documentary has, the person, did he or didn't he? Mm-hmm. And everyone, just because of his history, he's a historic dick drawer, they assume that he is the one who committed the crime. So he's pulling off a nice performance for you guys.
I think so, and I also love that in a lot of these true crime documentaries, podcasts, what nobody says, because it's always about such a serious topic, is that maybe this person did it or did not do it because they're stupid.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't come up with the brains to pull this crime off.
Yeah, that was hilarious when that did come out. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, and he's like, wait, yeah, no, I couldn't have done that.
That was very funny. He plays dumb in a very smart way, I think.
But clearly he's not.
Yeah, right. It's almost like you're feeling bad for him. I personally started to root for him. I was like, oh, man, I hope he does get off. Like,
I know.
You get into that mode. I will say, too, that this is kind of an example. We've talked about this a little bit, why Netflix is producing more popular shows. Not only the mode of like giving people a bunch to watch at once, but also the ideas. Like you're taking an idea that is been used so much and you're making fun of it as a mockumentary.
Yep.
So it's just an aspect of originality that we're not seeing on network as consistently.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's sharp.
Yeah.
It's very, very sharp.
And also the fact that one of the Netflix's biggest things ever was making a murderer. And this really is making fun of it.
Right.
And it's all the same, it's all under the Netflix umbrella, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
For those looking live during our video portion of the show, you'll see the Way Back Boys. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
The thing I liked about this was, I think in the same way that Big Mouth nails middle school, this show really nails high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually been my favorite part of the pilot, was the fact that basically the frame story is that the documentary crew is like the high school AV club.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty clever, and I think they nailed a lot of the tropes of what a high school feels like.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of sort of like its portrayal of high school?
I loved it. I went to an all-girls school, fair enough, so we didn't necessarily get all of that, but we had the boys' school, so it was fine. But I thought with this one, there was something specific about the character, like the what was it called? The Way
Back Boys?
The Way Back Boys,
they go
right?
way back.
They go way back, and they know exactly like where he likes to poop and where he does not like to poop.
That was
great.
I'm laughing now thinking about
And
it.
the cushy like toilet seats, I think they're weird too.
And how
Yeah.
how they described that was funny. All of those little details made you really feel the age at where they were in
Yes.
high school. And it's like, yeah, I can definitely see someone saying that in high school. It was perfect.
Definitely. And I will say they're doing a good job with stakes. I mean, like, you can tell these guys know how to tell a story because, he's got this girlfriend, and will they make it?
Yeah.
And that stuff, I think, was maybe the reason I'm a play, is because, like, I am 10% curious to see if he did it.
Right, right. And how he talked about his girl, that one scene, that was pretty good. I think that's my favorite scene.
Yeah.
Him talking about how he felt about her.
Dude, like,
Yeah. He's like,
dude, I mean, like, she makes me feel a way that other girls don't, like, make me feel.
I mean, and they all have nice bodies. And
Yeah.
she's got a big ass. Like,
Got
it
a
was just
nice ass,
perfect.
but-
It was so perfect.
Yeah, he's doing. I think Jimmy Tatra's turning in a nice performance here.
He, I would say he's shined from a performance that, for me, in Big Mouth, the hormone monsters
Yes.
shined. I say he is the star of this show.
Yeah, he really is, and I
Yeah.
think he's doing a good job. It's good casting.
Yeah, and I mean, you're definitely rooting for the student. You go, oh, it's not that he just drew a bunch of penises.
Right.
I mean, I get that would be a bad thing in high school, but at the same time, I love, and not to give away spoilers, but what I think that you guys will find if you progress through this show is that the stakes continue to get higher, and it's a high school and social media age, right?
Right.
So, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like people, this is a phenomenon in a way with all the dicks on the car.
All the dicks on the car. Do you guys think you have to be a fan of true crime to enjoy this show?
I don't. I mean, because I don't watch true crime.
You don't watch true crime?
Yeah. So, but you get the mode of mockumentary. We all consume documentaries. That's
Yeah.
why it's good. It's not just for people who watch true crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling the guys this story before we went on the air. My brother's a lawyer, and I sent him this, and he was at work, and he was sending me scribbles on law documents of him like drawing dicks, and he's like, I can't stop now that you showed me this show. And you know what, like, it never dies, guys. Like, if you have a goofy, weird, gross sense of humor, it's just gonna continue forever, and that's why I loved both of these shows.
I know. I
Yeah.
think there actually is a lot of thematic similarities between these two shows. I think they both really get at a specific adolescent time and focus on both the complexity and the immaturity of that time. And it's interesting that they kind of aired so close to each other. But I feel like if you like one of the shows, you'll probably like the other. So if you're interested, I'd probably recommend both.
Both of them. Yeah.
I'm just giggling and smiling talking about both of them. And
Yeah.
I'm a girl. I don't have a penis.
Absolutely. So that being said, one thing I was interested in was I'd love to see kind of an anthologized version of this show.
I just said that the other day.
But the title kind of locks it in, right?
Yeah, that they're vandalizing something. I mean, I would like to see like next season,
Yeah.
They can find a way around.
I think I would have. I hope they do, because I thought it'd be really funny to see like the Mean Girls, kind of like the Heathers of their school.
It's like who slipped the laxatives in all the girls' drinks, you know?
I just think like I love the idea of putting true crime around a really low stakes crime.
Yeah.
So I think if this season is a hit, I think they could even do it better and approach another kind of mundane crime to build a show around.
Yeah. That's funny. And like it's like, you know, when your kid does something says a swear word, right? If your little kid says a swear word, you don't laugh, but you want to.
Right.
Or you maybe do a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you guys give this out of 5?
I'm a 4.8. I love it.
Oh, man.
I gave it a 3.5.
Ooh. I'm definitely going lower than a Big Mouth. I think I'm thinking like 3.9. It's close to a 4.
Close to a 4.
But my lack of desire to revisit it as much makes it a lower.
I'd be interested to hear another female's point on this.
It's good, yeah.
Ladies, let us know in the comments.
Let us know. I think it's really funny.
Well, we liked both shows, you guys.
Yeah.
Any other conversations that we need to have? Do we think there will be a second season of each of these shows?
Big Mouth, definitely.
I think American Vandal, too. I also just want to bring up the fact with American Vandal is that they teamed up with Funny or Die, which is a huge comedy website.
Interesting.
And those two produced this together, which is at least one of the first of its kind in a way that we know about it.
Yeah.
That it's like Funny or Die and Netflix together are bringing this show.
I get it, because it has a very sketch comedy feel.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, you can feel the sketch comedy influences in the show, so...
Both of them, really. I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, I agree, definitely. Well, for those of you guys who are fans of Netflix, we have some cool options for you. I mean, obviously, our show's going to continue to cover Netflix shows because they're putting out so many shows.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a new David Fincher show coming out in a couple weeks called Mindhunter. That looks very good.
Yeah.
So just especially if you're a Netflix fan, stay tuned because we'll be talking about Netflix a lot. We also just launched a new show called Netflix News that's all about pickups, renewals, cancellations, etc. on this exact channel. So check out our Netflix News show if you're interested in kind of TV news. Yeah. And guys, this has been TV Pilot Reviews. Today we reviewed 2 new Netflix shows, Nick Kroll's Big Mouth and American Vandal, and we liked both of them.
Press play on both of them.
Press play for us on both. For those who have watched them, again, let us know what you think in the comments. And guys, my name is Jeff Graham. If you want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey C. Graham. I run a show on Fridays where we table read unproduced shows and movies called the Unproduced Table Read. That's on our sister network, Popcorn Talk. So if you're into pilots, definitely check out that show because we're reading pilots.
Awesome. You guys can find me, Sam Davidson, at SamD43, Twitter and Instagram, SamDavidsonEntertainment.com. Next week, we are restarting up the Riverdale after show, which I'm obsessed with. I would love to talk about the pilot sometime if we ever have any downtime because I loved it. If you guys haven't seen it, go on Netflix to watch the entire first season. Thanks, guys.
And I am DeAnjilo. You can hit me up on Twitter at DeAnjilo TV and at DeAnjilo on Instagram. Of course, as always, if you guys have shows you want us to watch for you, we would love to join in and have you guys join in a comment in the live chat as well for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of CW, Sam, we will be covering a new CW show next week called Dynasty.
Yes.
It is a remake of an old soap opera, correct?
Yeah.
And it's Josh Schwartz who created a lot of shows you've heard of.
Gossip Girl, The OC.
Yep. So
Tune
Be
in.
popping, bro.
We'll have
Join us.
opinions.
I suggested it if you didn't know.
She's excited.
Of course she did. Guys, thank you so much. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week when we cover CW's Dynasty. Thanks.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you
Later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.